I'm opening this exactly the way Lakers fans dream, but rarely get to hear. The room is hotter, the phones are louder, and Los Angeles has carved a real lane for the move that flips the Western Conference. Chessboard, welcome to Lakers News Fan Report, your spot for updated news and rumors about our beloved team with the tone of a fan and the precision of a film room. And tonight I'm laying out the full grown man picture of how a franchise course correction puts Anthony Davis back in purple and gold. Why the coaching staff's recent tweaks point to an immediate on-court fit, what the cap math actually allows, which assets sit on the table in real life rather than fantasy trades, and how the first 10 days after a handshake would look in rotations, coverages, and closing lineups. Stick with me because I'll build this brick-by-brick timeline. Leverage, basketball, money, and only quando to do este claro. I'll deliver the clean verdict you came for, because this channel respects your time and your IQ as much as your heart. The basketball case comes first because rings live on the court. The current staff has doubled down on pace to contact. 0. 5 decisions on the second side, and a frontline identity that prizes vertical spacing over static post touches. And that philosophy was practically written for Anthony Davis at this stage of his career rim runs that steal early seals, elbow catches into dribble handoffs that force switch or foul, and a defensive scheme that lets him toggle between backline eraser and switchable giant without burning through his legs by February. What you've watched lately is a quieter system update, more drag screens into empty corner, more 77 actions where the strong side shooter pins the tagger, more early box outs from the guards so the big can leak and threaten the rim 2 passes later, and all of it begs for a big who turns normal possessions into paint. Pressure without demanding the ball stop. AD is that multiplier, still one of the few in the league who can change shot diets simply by standing in the right place for 2 beats. Now, if you've been tracking rotations with me, you've noticed the front office and bench collaborating on a different kind of honesty. The non-star minutes now insist on spacing at both corners, a live dribble organizer who moves it rather than milks it, and wings who don't blink on the catch. That's how you survive without a heliocentric creator, and it's how you protect your star big for banging through 3 bodies every half-court trip. When you reinsert Anthony Davis into that build, the offense breeze guards, stop forcing floaters, shooters get longer closeouts, and your best driver starts seeing chest instead of hand. Flip the floor and the defense cleans up because he's still the most terrifying second jumper in basketball. He erases layups at 8 feet, he shows high, and recovers in 2 steps. And he covers for 1 mistake per trip without needing a bailout whistle, which means your guards can actually dog the ball instead of defending with the fear of no backline. Let's get professional about the money, because false hope is how fan bases get hurt. Under the current rules, you don't sneak a max through a side door matching salary, has to be real. Aggregation can't break apron lines, and you don't fix it later with exceptions you no longer own. The pathway here is a top-heavy outgoing spine that matches the number, plus a second contract to smooth the ledger, plus draft capital that respects Stepien guardrails while still making the other room feel they're getting future upside. In plain English, 1 veteran deal everybody in the league recognizes as movable, 1 mid-tier starter or 6-man type contract that other staffs grade as playoff playable, and a stack of picks and swaps with sanity front-loaded protections that lighten a far out. First that carries real teeth, and swap years that only convey if you're good enough that it doesn't matter. The reason this is live right now, and why I'm talking to you like something grown is on the table, is alignment. Ownership greenlit the concept. The cap group already pressure tested scenarios. The coaching staff signed off on the basketball fit. And crucially, the locker room leadership is aligned on the cost. No team takes a swing like this if the room can't stomach moving a young prize or beloved vet to make the math work. And the tone around El Segundo lately has been adult. If the move produces May basketball, we do it and we do it clean. That's leverage. And leverage breeze when the other side hits a moment of truth about its own arc health question. A start that doesn't match ambition, younger timelines taking priority, or simply the reality that paying for contention without contending is the most expensive hobby in sports. When those currents meet, phones get less hypothetical. I'm not selling you fireworks. I'm selling you sequencing. The reason front offices move quickly when big names finally wobble is because the reroute has already been rehearsed. The Lakers have rehearsed this. Picture the first week, not the headlines, the hoops. Day 1, paperwork, medicals, film. Day 2, the staff strips the playbook to 10 pages and installs 3 bass. Families double drag to empty corner with a built-in Spain wrinkle at team's top lock. 77, into ghost screen for the guard, so a D slips free on the short roll. An elbow series where he catches, faces, and hits the split cut like a quarterback. Bench groups go 5 out around him, and a leave dribble guard with clear rules. Spring corners, be early, not fast. Make the next pass. Day 3, pick and roll defense gets standardized. At the start of clocks, you play at the level with a peel switch ready. In the middle, you show the touch and recover. Late clock, you switch clean and live with contested pull-ups. Guards stop over-helping because the back line is trustworthy again. Day 4, closing template 3 shooters plus a D. One of them a downhill guard who can collapse a seam without praying for a whistle. The goal is not new offense. The goal is geometry change. More paint touches by design, fewer stagnant ISOs, cleaner kick-out threes, and simpler matchups at the point of attack because the weak side corner is finally respected. Now let me be as straight as I know how about the price. A blue-chip young piece almost certainly moves in any real version of this. Multiple firsts leave the building with thoughtful protection, and there's a veteran salary that makes the math work a real goodbye, not a spreadsheet. That's heavy, and if you've been with this channel long enough, you know I don't dance around it. But the filter is ruthless and fair. Does this put the banner hunt back on the calendar right now? If the answer is yes, tomorrow can carry tomorrow. What keeps me optimistic is the combination of fit and timing. Anthony Davis at this phase pairs perfectly with a staff that wants to win on runs and runs on trust defend. Board, go with set pieces that keep him in the middle of everything without asking him to be everything. That has been the missing slice whenever the offense looked like it needed miracles. Let me give you the 3 categories any contender must check to justify a blockbuster and show you how this checks them. First, on-court scalability. Can a star thrive at playoff pace without needing the ball to stop? Ad does, because his best actions are read-based, not choreographed, and his defense scales up when possession slow. Second, roster survivability. Can you make the move without gundy edges that make an 8-man rotation? By design, yes, because the outgoing spine is top-heavy and the picks live in tomorrow, not today, leaving you wings who can shoot, a guard who can organize without dribbling holes into the floor, and a utility big who sets violent screens and disappears on cue. Third, cap continuity. Can you live with the bill while still adding minimum market vets who actually play in June? That's the quiet strength of the current sheet. A few mid-tier deals that can be exchanged for redundant skill sets later. A handful of young contracts with real minutes already on tape. An optionality to keep tweaking around the margins rather than praying for buyouts. The beautiful, brutal truth is that stars win this league, but stars without a plan burn your window. This is a star with a plan, and the plan didn't start tonight. It's been humming in the background all month while the bench learned to value. 0.5 decisions, and the staff tested lineups that survive when the game gets muddy. If you want a single possession that explains why this is worth the pain, drag screen and early offense, AD slips, weak side corner stays home because the shooter is hot. The low man stunts late because he's tired of dying at the rim. The kick goes to the slot, bang. Next trip the tag comes from the corner because they're spooked by the slip. The skip goes over the top, bang. Third trip they switch it. The guard feeds the duck in, 2 feet in the paint, soft touch. And now the other bench is burning a timeout because nothing cheap is available. That's what a right fit star does. He changes what's cheap. There's also a cultural layer you and I care about because it's the Lakers standard. Day 1, you'll see the jog between drills disappear. No more half-speed transitions from shell to shooting. Every cut is live. Every rep time, coaches with stopwatches, assistants barking on the catch, not after. Day 2, the post-practice defensive talk-through runs 5, then 10 minutes longer because the backline calls get tighter, and the weak side tags get named out loud low man, peel, X out, until the vocabulary is muscle memory and the closeouts arrive on balance instead of desperation. Day 3, the young guys realize that cuts aren't suggestion. They're appointments on a clock. If you cut on time next to a big who draws 2, you feast. And if you float or stare, you're invisible. Suddenly, the second unit is racking up easy twos without calling a single play. Day 4. The veterans feel their workload lighten, no more trying to survive 10 straight. Non-rim possessions in crunch time because the paint is live again, and that subtle exhale is what turns tense fourth quarters into professional ones. You feel it in the way the ball moves from nail to corner without a hitch, and in the way everyone springs to the glass because they trust the shot, not hope for it. Day 5 film gets sharper, clips are shorter, notes are cleaner, and the standard for what counts as a good miss rises. Contested pull-ups late clock are graded differently when the rim has been threatened twice earlier in the possession. Day 6 recovery looks like part of the plan, not punishment cold tubs on schedule. Nutrition dialed in. The soft tissue chatter that haunted last season replaced by a room that knows how to carry its engine into April. Day 7 the habits stack. Guards tag and release with the same effort they use to hunt corner threes. Wings crash with a job description instead of vibes. And the big communicates in declarative sentences that shave a second off everyone's decision-making. This is how a room changes without a speech. The star works. The work clarifies roles, roles become habits, and habits win when the whistle goes weird in May. I know the counter-arguments because I respect them. Injuries are not a paragraph you can edit out. Mileage accumulates. Parting with a young cornerstone leaves a bruise you feel on draft night. And the fear that a big swing becomes loud, expensive noise is real. The only adult answer is that risk lives on both roads. Standing pat has a cost too, and it's usually paid in the quiet of a 5-game skid where the margins you ignored come back with interest. If the fit is clean, if the room is aligned, if the cap lets you keep your edges, and the rotation stays 8 or 9 deep without duct tape, then the correct kind of fear is the fear of waiting too long. Depth is not a trophy. Depth is a tool. You use it to land the piece that makes all the other pieces easier, and then you coach the heck out of the details. That's how grown teens behave when the window is open, but the breeze won't last forever. And because the rumor machine loves to blur lines, I'm going to draw them with a ruler. Tonight we're talking about a real lane, not a press button announcement, a cap legal framework, not a fantasy workaround, an authentic appetite from the room that matters, not a whisper campaign. And sequencing you can track assets identified, roles mapped, first week install rehearse so that the minute the other side blinks, Los Angeles has the paperwork, the package, and the plan to act like adults. No parade talk, no puff chest, just a professional path from phone call to warm-ups. So here's where I need you. Before the phones buzz again, I want the community's honest, detailed read in the comments. Would you cash the internal green light if the window opens this month? Or hold the line and ride internal growth plus one mid-tier addition? Which assets are you willing to move, and which are your red lines? How do you want the closing 5 to look on opening night after a deal 2 shooters around a D with a downhill guard and a plus defender? Or do you slot a bruising wing to keep the glass locked? Be specific. Talk matchups you fear in the West. Talk who guards the second action when our primary stopper sits. Talk how many minutes you want AD at the 5 versus sharing the floor with a spacing big. Tell me how you manage back-to-backs, how you'd split coverages between level and drop, how many early seals per quarter you'd script to keep the paint hot without burning touches. This channel thinks the game, not just the headline, and your blueprint is part of this. My concise verdict, direct and professional. Los Angeles built a responsible, cap-clean runway to bring Anthony Davis back into a system tailored to his prime skills. And the on-court geometry plus defensive certainty make the cost high and human worth serious consideration. If the door opens, the move restores identity overnight, raises the nightly floor, and gives the staff a closing package. That wins coin flip games without praying for miracles. If you want coverage that keeps you ahead of the curve fast, when the story is simple and deep when it's complicated, subscribe, drop a like, turn on notifications, and keep riding with Lakers News Fan Report. Because you're going to get the updates and the rumors of our beloved team with the mix of passion and rigor this jersey deserves. And the second, this story shift from green light to handshake, I'll bring you the full court breakdown from cap sheet to corner 3. No fluff, just basketball.